All right, guys, ESPN put out a list of its most improved NFL teams this offseason. And I clicked on it, and I'll be honest. I actually did expect to see the Cleveland Browns on this list. I did. They traded for Jared Verse. I know they lost Myles Garrett in that deal.
You say that as if that's not a big factor.
They made two big-time acquisitions, three really on the offensive line. They hired Todd Monken. Their draft got an A-plus grade from ESPN. So when I clicked on the list of the 5 most improved teams in the NFL, ESPN had these 5 listed, none of which were the Cleveland Browns. This is not in order because they didn't have an order, but they just had these 5 teams as their most improved. The Giants, the Raiders, the Saints, the Cowboys, and the Bengals. G. Bush, these 5 were the 5 most improved teams in ESPN's eyes. Do you agree with ESPN or do you agree with me that the Browns should have been on that list?
Man, these lists be funny because it doesn't denote. Just because you say you're the most improved, it doesn't tell me where they improved from. I got to see where they moved at. If they had the Raiders as a team that was last in the NFL and they moved to like 26th or 27th or maybe 21st, maybe they already started low, so they got a bigger jump. I don't know where they had them at, but I actually prefer the Cleveland Browns get no love, to be honest with you, because it puts you in a position where when you go out and actually earn it, fine, that's what's up. Because now you're a team that has young players that came out of nowhere, and it's undeniable at that point. I like motivation, but I mean, if you look at it, they're not gonna. The Browns have never been high-ranking officials on anything. It's the Browns.
Well, they were on the draft. People gave them a good grade.
They gave them a good grade, but then again, the fact of the matter is you got to do it. You know what I mean? Like last year, you got your rookies. They performed very well. Mm-hmm. They got an A in terms of, I like what they did when it comes to the rookie class, but people are going to be like, well, if Mendoza got drafted, so if people like Mendoza, the Raiders will be on the list. If you like Jackson Dart plays for the Giants. They liked him. They're going to be on the list. So for me, it's a referendum on whether or not people feel like either Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson are going to be a great quarterback. It's also a referendum on the fact that you got Todd Monken and he's a relatively first-time unknown head coach. And then the Browns' reputation precedes themselves. So when it comes to being on power ranking lists, the Browns not going to be on these type of lists. So, but I'm not really pressed about it because at the end of the day, there's a team that we don't never think is going to be good, and they end up being good every single year in the NFL. It's about going out and doing it.
Why, Mike, why should they be on the list?
I just thought with the improvements to the offensive line, revamping 4 of the 5 from a group that we thought was god-awful last year to, at least on paper, should be respectable.
Did you break down the other teams and what they did?
I mean, no one's going to look at free agent offensive line signings and say, okay, they're ready to go.
Right. Do we know, like, they've got new players.
I mean, can we pull up the list again of who's on the list?
The coach is a first-time head coach, so we don't know that that's an upgrade.
I mean, they have a job nobody wanted.
Yeah. Right, that's true.
The Giants are on the top of the list. They got John Harbaugh, the coach everybody wanted. They had 2 top 10 picks.
Right.
The Bengals traded for Dexter Lawrence.
And spent a lot of money on defense to get better.
The Raiders had the number 1 pick. They've got a young coach that a lot of people liked.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the Saints are on there. What did the Saints do?
I agree. I don't know
what the Cowboys and Bengals had decent teams that improved their big weakness on defense.
The Raiders had the number 1 quarterback.
Right, and the Giants hired the best coach and the best available
that
coach.
everybody wanted. So
right.
Those make sense.
I'm not sure about the Saints, but how can I say the Browns are better than the Saints without doing research on the Saints?
The Browns, I mean, again, everyone's going to get mad. The Browns had a coaching job nobody wanted, and they traded their best player.
Right, exactly.
So they're not going to show up on a most improved list.
Right, Mike, bring up the Browns list here again.
I mean,
I'll look at it and say
we just got done saying, oh well, it's a tank year, it's a rebuild year. They just traded Myles Garrett.
Exactly.
So now you want them to show up on an improved list.
I don't think I thought the Browns won 5 games. How many games they won?
5.
I got them winning 5 games this year, so that's not improved.
Yeah.
Hiring Todd Monken, you can't say it might be an upgrade from Kevin Stefanski, but it's a big if. He's never been a head coach.
Correct.
You traded for Jared Verse. He's a very good player, but you traded Myles Garrett to get him, so that's a downgrade. And then the rest of this, the draft class, okay. I mean, it's good on paper, and it's the offensive lineman you list there. Tytus Howard was traded by a team that had a terrible offensive line, and Zion Johnson was on the team that let him go from a terrible offensive line. So I think the Browns' O-line will be better, but it's not a sure thing.
I think the roster is better than it was last year.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and stand on the table and say it's one of the most improved teams in the NFL.
It's one of them things my old coach used to say, man, listen, we ain't looking – you guys ain't good enough right now to be your newspaper clippings. Like, at this point, like, we're not going to do – like, I get it. You got to do, like, rankings. It is what it is, but – sometimes you got to adjust your focus on what you're doing. My focus ain't on power rankings or whether the Cleveland Browns think they're going to be at. Somebody thinks or whether they're going to be good or not. My thing is I'm looking at the individual development and looking internally to see if they got the pieces and parts to make the foundation to get back there within a couple 1-2 years. That's where I'm at this point. So I don't think the Browns or Todd Monken is going to cry because they're not on the most improved list. They'll be all right.
Mike, who would you put them over? The Saints, or you got somebody else?
Yeah, so just based off, and
I don't know that the Giants outside of coach have improved that much.
Well, they got 2 top 10 picks and they got the coach everybody wanted.
Right, but I don't know. I think you got to be careful factoring in the rookies too much before they play the game.
I agree with you. But 2 top 10 picks is not.
But they lost their best defensive player.
Did.
Go ahead.
All right,
Mike.
so the Cowboys, if we're taking out picks, the Cowboys' only notable addition this offseason was Rashawn Gary. That's it.
That's it?
And
that's it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I thought they spent more on defense. You sure?
They had a new coordinator, and they had 2 first-round picks they used on defense. But we're taking out the picks.
I mean, it's the Cowboys.
Well, that's what I was saying.
No, bro,
I don't think they're doing that.
No, you can't take out. That's why the Raiders are on the list.
Yeah.
But do you think Malachi Lawrence at 23 and Caleb Downs is a better rookie haul than?
Well, no, I think you can question the Saints and Cowboys both being on that list.
Okay.
But it's the Cowboys.
But it's an opinion, Mike. And we're biased here a little bit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think the Browns are just as worthy as the Cowboys in that sense. The Saints drafted Jordan Tyson. They signed David Edwards as a guard, and that was a very expensive guard, top guard on the market. Those were their 2 notable offseason additions.
I think that when you do these lists,
and they signed Travis Etienne too.
When you do these lists, McNuggets, these lists, a lot of them, when you come from national perspective, is you take a look at the quarterback. You say, which quarterback do I like better? Obviously,
I don't think that factors into this.
I do too. I do. If you look at the Giants and if you look at Tyler Shuck, they have rookie quarterbacks,
right? They were already there. That's not an improvement for this year.
But
you're counting on them taking some big leap.
That's the thing.
Right, I guess,
they take it into account like they may take a jump.
Make a leap. Yeah, so, that might have factored in. And, Mike, what you're ignoring is the fact that the Browns traded the best defensive player in football.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest.
You're kind of ignoring that.
No, I'm not.
You kind of are.
Because this article was put out before the Myles Garrett trade. Mic drop.
Well, how was I supposed to know that?
Yeah,
because I sent you the article. You could have looked at the date on it.
That trade.
Yeah.
I had this in the list just waiting for a rainy day.
I got you.
This is project. It's definitely projection.
Oh, so then I could see.
But also,
right, but you included Jared Verse on there. That was fishy.
Got him, bull, the sleuth detective. You trying to get us?
The Raiders. I'll read you real quick the big additions for each team. And taking out picks. The Raiders was Linderbaum.
I forgot about Linderbaum. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Giants was Isaiah Likely.
Yep.
They've got a bunch of other.
Odell Beckham Jr.
You could add OBJ to that. The Saints was Etienne and David Edwards. The Bengals, Dexter Lawrence, Jonathan Allen, Brian Cook, Boye Mafe. And the Cowboys was just Rashawn Gary.
Okay.
So my point is, the Browns had, and maybe we're the minutia, so Elgton Jenkins feels like a bigger name than he actually is.
Yeah.
But it feels like they made a couple more additions than some of these other teams to not be included. I don't know. I thought they'd be on the list. They weren't. I'm not tripping, but
also, you get, what's the name? What's the receiver y'all got for the Giants that's coming back?
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors coming back off injury.
They lost Wan'Dale Robinson, though.
Cam Scatterboo's coming on back off injury. You did get Harbaugh. Maybe you like Jackson Dart, and that's your guy.
That's true.
And then you got Harbaugh, and then you seem like they didn't have a top 5 pick every single year.
Yeah.
I mean, they got so many defensive linemen that y'all draft one every second. So
there you go.